to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Liberty and justice
with
for all.
justice for all.
Okay. So Jack is on, so I need to open up the agenda. Well, let me do this. I need approval of the minutes of July 19th.
So
I need a
moved.
motion. I need a second.
Second,
Thank you.
welcome.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
I would say, right?
Mhm. Finance member committee, member comments, anyone?
Yeah, I have a couple, Jean.
Sure.
First, I was happy to attend with you the strategic plan retreat a couple weeks ago. As a Board of Finance representative, it was a wonderful event that I dreaded going to on a Friday night and a Saturday. But I was really glad I went. A lot of really great work was done. And it'll be really great to see how that moves along from this point. So I appreciate being included and just wanted to let you all know that was a really great thing. The other just quick thing is as the liaison to the library, the Board of Trustees we met this past Monday, but the last time we met, which must have been August or July, they changed leadership. As you all know, we said goodbye to Nicole Wiles, who is president, and we thank her for her service. But they elected Keith Luckenbach, Cindy Snyder, and Ken Nolan as their executive committee. So that is the new leadership team. And then finally, I'm sure you all know that Sunny Scarpa is sadly leaving Madison, but there is a search underway for to fill her position. And that's my end of report.
Thank you, Katie. Any other board member comments? John, do you have any comments?
Yeah, just real quick. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to welcome John to the BOF and tell Fillmore we wish him nothing but the best of luck. But John, welcome, and looking forward to working together. And
Welcome,
Jean,
John.
thanks for stepping in tonight.
You're welcome. Okay, report from first selectwoman, who swears to me that this is gonna be quick.
So I sent out a copy of a presentation I did to the Board of Selectmen, and really the purpose of this was just to remind people about the Madison Investment Plan. I know this board is very familiar with it. It's Stacy's one of her grandchildren now. And so, but we've been taking actions over the last 12 months to follow this plan using state and federal grants, using our fund balance to keep on top of capital. So we're not sacrificing capital to keep keep the mill rate down. So we've been able to do this also to absorb the future debt service that we're going to see coming online and maintain a stable tax rate. So and some of the things we did this last year included in the budget, with a higher than average capital budget line item, as well as doing some infusions through the town meeting of $3.5 million into CIP, and also into the fireman's pension. We just did our board approved the extra 200 that Fillmore had done through his Dutch auction at his last meeting. So we've taken a lot of actions to date already, and we continue to move forward with this plan. The next slide really just highlights the status of all the different grants. I'm not going to talk through it, but Jacqueline, if you want to go to the next slide. And it highlights, we've gotten over $13 million of grants. The staff has done a great job in pulling a lot of information together, project information, applying for these grants. And as they move through, the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance has to vote on these. More are going to be on the way. Also, the next slide just highlights things that we're hoping to get. We're not guaranteed to get. But I think it just shows you that it's a comprehensive plan. We've been successful at getting grants. It's a record number of money, over $13 million. And that's not including the $6 million from the schools that we got, the extra $6 million, and a lot of other recurring stuff that we get every year just as part of state funding that we receive. So, so you'll be seeing more. There's some on this agenda today to approve. Some of these will require appropriations, and some of these have money already allocated to the CIP, because there's always a matching component. The grants don't just cover the entire cost of the project. They also require town funding. And I know Stacy has had her little running list of when to appropriate. And so I think at one meeting in the future, maybe we talk a little bit more about that and when's the right time to appropriate in some of these projects. But we're waiting until we know what the budget is, so we don't have to speculate. So that's really what this is for. I just wanted it in your minutes, and it's a refresher for you because I know you're very familiar with a lot of this, and we have a new attendee tonight. So with John's new membership, gives him some background. So I will just leave it at that.
Excellent.
And I know because senior tax relief, I challenge you to be as quick as I am.
That was good. Any questions for Peggy? Good.
No, just,
Good.
sorry, never shy for words, but I just want to say thank you. I mean, that's amazing and super helpful for the town, but I, as somebody who's written a grant before, it's a lot of work. So thank you to the staff for both researching them and doing the work to get them. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good. And our new grants person.
Look at you wearing it.
She's like, yeah.
Look at that. I didn't think there were any more hats out there. Citizens' comments. Jacqueline, anybody in the public?
No hands are raised.
Okay. I'm gonna ask to open the agenda to discuss, where's the motion? Well, first I have to open the agenda. I need a motion to open the agenda to discuss the purchasing of a Harley Davidson
So,
motorcycle for the police department.
so moved.
Second,
Okay. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so it's open, so now I'm gonna add the motion to the agenda, and it reads as follows. Discuss and take action to approve a request from the Madison Police Department to purchase a 2019 Harley Davidson FLHTP, short, from Capital Improvement Program Police Vehicle Reserve in the amount of $14,000 pending Board of Selectmen approval.
so moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
discussion. I think Jack is on.
Jack is definitely on.
Yep. Jack,
I'm just moving them up now.
thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Good.
Good, chief.
Hi, coming to you from my living room. This is the Harley Davidson that we originally leased starting in 2020. We're in the third year, and the residual to buy it out is $14,000. Originally, it was $28,000 when we acquired it. So I'm just asking that we use money that we have in our replacement fund to make the purchase. If we've been paying approximately $4,500 yearly for a lease, so I think at this point it'd be prudent to buy it. It has about 4,000 miles on it right now, and it's running very well. It started as a lease program, and we started the program because we wanted to see what the reaction or how valuable it would have been in patrols, particularly during the summer months, and it's been overwhelming, the response to the bike and the use of the bike. So at this point, I'd like to buy it while we have the money there.
Okay, any questions for Jack?
I have a question. So Jack, where is this 14,000 coming from?
Well, $14,000 is in the vehicle replacement fund. There's approximately $62,000 there now. I just want to make a special note. We traded in all those older cars we had, and we raised approximately $25,000, which added to the fund in the last 2 months.
Okay, so those are not funds that are already earmarked towards some future purchase or lease.
No, that I would say the 14,000 comes from the additional funds we raised by getting rid of the junk I had.
Got 25,000 for that junk, chief. That's not bad.
I wish I had that junk.
Well, you have to remember, when we were trading it in, they wanted to give us $5,000 for the 6 vehicles we had at about 150,000 miles each. And we ran them until we weren't going to put any more valuable money into them for repairs. So we got this, we talked to some of the other departments, and they went on this municipalbid.com, and we got permission from the boards And hats off to Lieutenant York. He raised 24,000 change with all those vehicles.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay.
Any questions for Chief?
Just a question of procedure. Would this be something we would normally have in our annual budget, knowing that it was coming up on lease, or?
No, we have the CIP and we have the reserve funds for things like this that come up.
Okay.
Correct. Good? Good. Okay,
Good.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Here you go, Jack, you can have your motorcycle. All right, next.
Ride safe.
update on proposed revisions to.
Thank you.
Tax
Thanks.
ordinance.
All right, so thank you for having us. We'll do our best to keep this short as well. I'm gonna share, Heather's gonna share the screen.
We can do this. You know, it might be better, we noticed the camera's here, and I think for sound and everything,
I get it.
I would do this down here, because our last meeting, we wanted to see. Jeff. So,
Hey, if you in the back row.
I have to do it today, I have solar cameras on.
Perfect.
Slideshow though. Change the slides for you?
So this is a project we've been working on for quite some time now, and we're ready to bring it to you folks tonight. So why are we here? And I think at the end of this meeting, we would like for the Board of Finance to appoint 2 members of your commission, of your board, to meet with us next week to take a deeper dive into this. So that's up to you who you would like to invite to that meeting, but we'll set that up. So why are we here? So the town's required to reevaluate the programs as part of the ordinance. And we're going to discuss opportunities for expanding our current programming to help the most vulnerable residents in town. And to help continue residents be able to stay in town as well. So currently, many residents prefer the freeze over the local abatement, but immediate relief is offered through the local abatement program. So that's difficult sometimes to understand, and this will help that. This will also streamline the application process, and we are well under the spending cap of the program. So currently, the 2 programs plus the state program is at approximately 0.42% of the approved budget. So we're well under that. So this is a timeline that we have to stick to in order for our new plan to take effect in time for the new program, which starts, February 1st of 24. So September, we're here now, we're gonna talk to you tonight. And then bring to the town attorney and then Quality, who does the software in the assessor's office. October, we would come back to the full Board of Finance to get approval of the draft ordinance and then to the Board of Selectmen. November, we'll hold the public hearing. December, the Board of Selectmen review a draft ordinance with the revisions and possibly take action to approve the final ordinance. And then in January, we'll post it for 15 days. And then in February, we'll start with a new program for the new application year. So these are the current programs that we offer. So there's 4. We have the local abatement, we have the local tax freeze, we have the local deferral, and then we have the state circuit breaker program, which is a state unfunded mandate that the town has to provide. And I can go into greater detail if you wish, but I think, we'll take a deeper dive into this hopefully next week with two members of the board. So the guideline similarities between the local abatement and the freeze are you have to be 65 or older by the end of the previous calendar year or disabled. You have to have ownership of your home for at least a year. And real property is a house and house lot in Madison. And it must be your legal domicile. Property must be your primary residence and be occupied for 250 days a year. You could be a surviving spouse of a previously eligible owner who was 60 years or older. You could be the spouse of a homeowner living in a nursing home on a permanent basis who's also 60 and older. You could have joint ownership, and the applicant with life tenancy and a property in trust may also be eligible. So these are some demographics to keep in mind. So the median Madison median Madison income is $140,990. We know there's 17,691 residents in town. As of 2023, 23% of the town's population is 65 and over. There's 335 households receiving a tax discount either through the local relief or the freeze. And there's 321 households on the program qualifying as seniors, 14 qualifying as disabled. And almost 5% of the town households receive either the local benefit or the freeze programs. And Heather's going to take it from there.
So the next series of slides we prepared go a little more in depth on the different programs. So the first program we'll talk about is the local tax abatement program. This was adopted in 2005 by the Board of Selectmen, and there's currently 291 households that are receiving the benefit. You can see the range of income guidelines that range anywhere from $0 all the way to $79,000. An eligible participant will have owned their property for 5 years, 5 consecutive years or more to qualify for a full benefit. If they've owned less than 5 years and still qualify based off of income, they would receive a $100 benefit until they've owned for 5 years. These calculations are adjusted annually by the CPI. So the income guidelines are adjusted annually by the CPI, as well as the benefit amount is adjusted by the CPI. This program is to be reviewed at the time of the reevaluation. Okay, so some statistics about the program. As you can see, the largest portion of participants falls in the second lowest income tier, so the $23,000 to $47,000 annually in income. And the next tier is, or the next largest chunk of folks that are in the program is between $47,000 and $63,000 annual income. The average assessment for participants on the program is $229,210. So we've put together a chart of sort of an average client that's receiving a benefit. I know this chart is sort of overwhelming. There's a lot of information on here, so we'll just touch on some of it. The first column goes into detail about the benefit amount. As you can see in the first column, the benefit amount is $1,578. Those folks in the first 2 rows are also receiving an additional state circuit breaker program benefit because their income is so low. Later on in the presentation, we'll talk more in depth about what the state circuit breaker program looks like. As you can see from the last column on the chart, all of the participants in the program, or that we've used as examples, have lived in town for quite a few years, 20 years or more, some even 40 years. And all of the participants have something additional that they're trying to pull in terms of income. So they're not just living off of Social Security, they're either renting a room in their house, or they're working, or they're trying to do whatever they can do to survive, to stay in town, in addition to receiving the benefits from the program. And I think that this also sort of helps to really put it into perspective when you take a look at someone's monthly income of, $1,500 and their potential total tax bill without a discount of being $430 per month. So that takes a big bite out of what their monthly income is. So you can see where this really does benefit folks for being on the program. So next we'll talk about the tax freeze program. This program was adopted in 2016. There's currently 44 households that are on the program. This program has a years of residency requirement. It has a single or married requirement, and then it also has an income and it has an asset test. So right now, the maximum assessed value for the home cannot exceed $392,600. And that's based off of the median assessed home value, which is adjusted annually. These income guidelines are adjusted annually based off of the Madison median income for the previous year. And they have fixed percentages that are adjusted based off of the chart. This program is supposed to be reviewed after 5 years since its inception. That's part of the process that we're doing now. We began this process back in, November, December, with several members from this Board of Finance, and members from the town staff to review the program. And so this is where we're at, what we've come up with since we've begun the review of this. So some statistics related to the tax freeze program. As you can see, the majority of the households that are on this program have owned for many years, 20 years or more. So it's really benefiting the folks who have longevity in town. The assessed value for the program, the average assessed value for the program is $217,946. So just to give you a good picture of what you're looking at. A couple of folks that we pulled to give you as an example, show you the different benefit amounts that folks potentially could receive. So, anywhere between $714 to $1,123. This amount will change depending on the household, depending on how much their taxes have changed from year to year. So you can see the first participant has only been on the program for 2 years. And so she has deferred, or not deferred. So her benefit is lower than what the other participant is receiving because they've been on the program for 5 years. You can see the first participant is a retired school teacher from Madison, and the other participant is 87 years old and still owns a business. So she's still operating a business currently, and they both have longevity in town. They've lived in town for many years.
So are assets considered which plan? Like, so I know the income, but what about assets?
The assets are non-liquid assets, property.
Okay.
So their home is what's considered in terms of the asset test for this program. The assessed value of their home.
That's currently just the freeze.
Just the freeze, that's what I'm asking. Okay. So we combine all this, that will move over.
Yes. And then we'll talk, the next program we'll talk about is the deferral program, which this board is responsible for changing or reviewing annually. Currently, there are 13 households on the program. The maximum income is consistent with the tax relief program. And for a participant to be on this program, they are required to participate in the local tax abatement program as well. Eligible participants can defer up to 100% of the real estate taxes, but it cannot exceed $8,000 annually, and it's currently secured with a lien placed against their property at 1.5%. So that's sort of a basic overview of the deferral program. If you take a look at the bottom of the slide, $80,000 was deferred this past grandless year. And since the program's inception, $679,000 has been deferred. This actually changed just recently. You'll see in a following slide, I caught a little mistake that we need to change. That we recently had someone who passed away, who fell off of the program and repaid a portion of repaid the deferred amount. So you can see how that changes. So examples of people who are on the program. There's a 86-year-old recently widowed woman who is on the program. This is helping her stay in her house because she's deferring her taxes. You can see the total amount owed is $44,000. And then the other person the other household is a married couple who have lived in town for 11 years. They're deferring the maximum amount allowed, and then they pay a portion of their tax bill because their tax bill is over the $8,000. Okay.
Madam
so-
Chairman.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, see, the deferral program is the one that makes all the sense in the world to me, and that 1.5% is per month, correct?
It is per
Yeah.
month.
Right, so I think it's a good program, and at the end, you know, you're gonna get the money back plus with the 1.5% per interest, and it helps people out now, so to me, that just makes all the sense in the world, but
The deferral program is a little tricky if folks have a reverse mortgage, because the town has to be the primary lien holder for the deferral program. And the reverse mortgage wants to be the primary lien holder, so there's sort of a fight between the two. So if they've already gotten a reverse mortgage prior to coming in and taking advantage of these programs, they wouldn't be eligible to do the deferral. And I know a lot of folks, what we hear when we meet with the seniors is that they really do not like a lien placed against their property. This makes a lot of sense, though, that they're going to get a better rate with the deferral program than what they would with the reverse mortgage, though. So
So I guess my question is, what happens to all these repayment? Like, if we combine all of these, they all have different repayment pieces.
So
Whether it's,
we're proposing combining the local abatement program and the freeze program and leaving the deferral program separate as a separate option.
And I will just say, even when I was back with finance a long time ago, like 2007, 2008, no one ever goes to the deferral program. It's always got 10, 11, 8 people in it. It's just not popular. And it's always been a conversation like, how do we educate them? It seems to make so much sense, but
right,
I mean, it's the experience since we've had it in place, just people
Right.
don't like it, so.
okay,
We attempt every year when people are applying for these programs to, you know, educate them as much as we can. And it really is difficult.
I can tell you that I use an example of a roof every year for someone. You know, you need a minor repair that you don't have the money, not minor, but you need a repair that you need the money for. Maybe you consider deferring your taxes for a year and use that money to do the repair. And then you can choose to go back and pay your taxes the next year and just have that 1 year deferred. And that's always an option too, but they don't seem
I
to
don't understand.
like to take that, so.
So Heather, just to clarify, we're talking about the deferral in this presentation because the income limits will change because it matches, it's kind of linked to the
Yes.
local tax abatement.
Yes.
And that's why we're bringing it up, but the big takeaway is combining the local and the freeze.
Okay,
But this is linked.
okay.
This was put together as a resolution, it's not an ordinance. So after we make changes to the ordinance and we combine the ordinance, we'll need to go back and change the resolution for the deferral program.
Okay.
So we'll talk a little bit about the state circuit breaker program. This is the state program, which is the, unfunded mandate that, the town needs to provide. So there's currently 141 households that are on this program. This program is divided by single and married and also by income. This provides an additional benefit on top of what they're already receiving for the local abatement program or the local freeze program. So this next slide talks about the actual cost from the grand list 2023 year. You can see the cost, there were 291 participants in the local program, it cost $300,000. The freeze program, there were 44 participants, it cost 26,000, for a total cost of 328,000. And then you can see the cost for the state circuit breaker program is the 74,000. So that's how we get to the 400,000 total between all the programs. And then you can see the deferred amount, and so this is where the error is on the chart. You can see it says 783,000. That was as of the middle of July. There was a recent sale, and so the actual number is on the previous page of the 679,000. So you can see the repayments do happen, it just happens over time with the deferral. Okay, so let's talk about some of the proposed changes that we are looking at for the ordinance. So we're looking at combining the local tax abatement and the freeze program into one program. Qualified applicants will receive both benefits. They'll receive the local credit and they'll also receive the freeze benefit. We're proposing this for folks that have owned their property for 10 years or more. If they've owned under 10 years, we're proposing that they receive just the local abatement credit only. So to sort of really marry the two programs, we took pieces from both to try to keep it consistent. So we're looking at doing the income guidelines from the freeze program adjusted by the area median income. And we are adding a tier to keep it consistent. So 20, 30, 40% tiers. And we're going to match those tier structures with the abatement benefits. So you'll see that better on a later slide. It's illustrated. We're proposing that we keep the asset test and keep it at the current value, the current guidelines of the median assessed value. Currently, there's 12 applicants who are receiving the tax abatement program who exceed this limit, who will be grandfathered into the new program. And we are proposing to keep the tax abatement adjusted by the CPI. So the tax abatement credit will continue to be adjusted by the CPI. We've added the $500 benefit category for those in the highest income tier because there wasn't a tier prior with the tax abatement program. And then to incentivize folks to stay in town and to add sort of a longevity bonus for folks, we've added a $250 bonus credit for folks that have owned their property for 30 years or more. So a couple of discussion items for when we meet, when you identify members that will meet for next week. We would like to discuss to consider allowances for one-time swings in income. So say someone's relative passed away and they received an inheritance, or I don't know, another example. Say they went to the casino and they hit the slot machine for 1 year, and it sets them over. That could be very devastating to someone who has been on the freeze program for many years, right? That you could see a significant increase in what you're paying in taxes if you have a one-time swing in income.
Because your mill rate is fixed the first you start the program. Say you're in it for 10 years, you have a one-off and you're $1,000 over, you have to reset. You've got your next bill is going to be, so it was trying to create some sort of.
And these swings, right, like these swings could be $100. If you're $100 over, you don't qualify anymore. And that as Heather said, that could be devastating for someone to have to go back, say, 6 years to what the mill rate is now. That's very hard to do.
Trying to eliminate some of the clips, I guess.
Yeah.
So we would also like to take a look at considering allowing medical expenses to be claimed with an affidavit instead of using, or in addition to using, the Schedule A. So currently, we allow medical expenses on both of the programs. They have to provide a Schedule A. The standard deduction has gone up considerably for folks, which is making it very difficult for them to claim their expenses if they're not itemizing their deductions. And so we're running into this with a lot of folks where they have high medical, but not high enough to where they have to itemize deductions. So we'd like to take a look at that. And then we also need to consider, once the cap of the program is reached and there's insufficient funds, how we're going to handle that, how it's going to be paid out on a pro rata basis. So, are we proposing across the board, reducing the benefits by a certain percentage? That's something that we need to talk about. And then I think we need to name the program also. So that would be helpful. So here are the proposed guidelines that we've put together. We have done away with the single and married categories to simplify this. And so we're proposing just one income tier, or one income guideline. And it's tiered based off a percentage. So you can see 20, 30, 40, 50%, all the way to 70%. You can see the benefit amounts that are current. Those would be adjusted, these guidelines will be adjusted in January based off of the Madison's annual average.
Median income.
Thank you. Madison's median income, and also the benefit amounts would be adjusted by the CPI. So you can see how each category has, the number of participants in each category, the potential cost, and then the potential overall cost. You can see that currently it's proposed at 0.42% of the budget, and currently the program is at 0.42% of the budget, and we're proposing 0.65% of the budget. I can say that there are some numbers that we cannot predict on this. These are definitely estimates, because currently we are not allowing single folks to have income up to 98,000. The guideline for the freeze program, for a single person is around 90,000. So that's a number that we can't exactly predict. So just so you're aware of that. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the key takeaway, the difference between this, the 0.65% versus currently the 0.42%, is right now it's a better of the two, and what we're proposing is both. So this is the same data that you presented earlier, the better of the two, but this is getting both. So that's why the number is that much.
And also, this is take over.
Like, so these are, like we talked about earlier in the presentation, these will be the next steps. We'd like to meet with whoever you choose to participate with us next week. Then you all on the Board of Finance will make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. We'll send it off to the town attorney and quality to review. Board of Selectmen will then accept the recommendation and call a public hearing. Public hearing for the board to receive comment. Then the board will approve the ordinance, update the deferral resolution, and then start the new program year, which starts February 1st with the new combined programs. So I know that was a lot of info to digest in 20 minutes.
Any questions? Any questions from the board?
Yeah,
Wait, I got somebody. John's going.
do we know what it costs us administratively to run these programs? And maybe that's why we're trying to combine these.
It's town staff, so it's already paid for.
Although it is very challenging, because you
Labor
have to
intensive,
take,
yeah.
you have to take each person and see which they should go into, and they're all different qualifications and stuff, so it's very labor intensive.
So there's streamline on it.
I don't even think only for the administration, I think even the applicants
It
who come
helps.
in are so confusing.
Right.
Because when we tell them you get the better of the two, and they say, well, I want the freeze. We're like, well, you're gonna get it
Right,
eventually when it becomes more beneficial to you.
right.
But every year you have to apply for it, and we have the same conversations with folks all the time. This will help them understand. You're getting both now.
Right.
You're gonna get both now,
Right.
and that'll be easier for them, and, you know, they're filling out one application instead of two. I think across the board. it'll
Everybody
just be-
has.
Yeah.
John, did you have something?
It's just a comment, Madam Chair. The system looks a little complicated, so the more that we can simplify this, I think the better will be for everybody there working. That's my thought. So I'm sure we'll appoint 2 BOF members and they can dive right into this. And Gene, I'll defer to you tonight, but I have a couple thoughts, but I just want the process. It seems a little complicated. So the more we can simplify it, I think the better it will be for everyone, especially, the employees.
I agree. Katie?
I think this is so great. It makes a lot of sense to merge the two together. I'm hoping that someone can send us these slides. Just so I can, although the presentation was wonderful, it was a lot to digest, so I'd love to look at it a little more closely. So someone could send them to me, it'd be awesome. I'm a slow learner.
Yeah, I apologize, there was some last minute tweaking of the slides, so I'll get them sent out to you.
Oh, please don't apologize. Your presentation was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Jude?
Yeah, I just want to go on the record for also commending you all for such thoughtfulness in putting all of this together and thinking about ways to streamline this, because it's a lot of information, it's a lot of data, and it is with so many different programs and different qualifications, it's very confusing, especially I imagine for seniors or disabled people. So anything that can be done to help streamline the process for both our town employees and for the beneficiaries of this is bound to have good effect. And Katie, I was taking screenshots of each of the slides because I was like, I have to go back and really look through this.
I'm a boomer. That's a great idea.
So it would be great if you can send them out. Katie, I'll send you my snaps as well.
Awesome. I have one more quick question for you. Is that okay, Jean?
Yeah, go ahead.
How do seniors and the disabled community learn of these programs currently?
So we have, our newsletter goes to like 3,000 people in town, if not more, or across, we send out 3,000 newsletters. It's on our website. Heather and Steve Fabian, who are both our municipal agents, talk to folks year round, which is important to note that, you know, whenever we have contact with someone at the senior center, we're screening them, you know, for all of these things so they could get the most benefits that they can. And then for younger disabled folks, Youth and Family Services will, when they meet with them and assist them throughout the year, they make them aware of the program as well, so they come to us to apply.
That's great.
I will say that just in talking to a lot of people, a lot of people don't realize, you know, with Madison's recent increase in income, average income, I mean, people that are making $91,000 a year could qualify in some way for assistance. And that is something that a lot of people think, you know, I've talked to people who are, you know, teachers living on a teacher's pension. Like, wow, maybe I might be able to qualify for something. So I think getting, you know, as we roll this out, the statistics of who could qualify and all that would be really helpful, because I know, I think a lot of people think, oh, you know, I don't fall into those categories. So.
I think that's a good point, and I'm just wondering, are we ever gonna approach that limit that we have, or?
So it's something we talk about every year. It's hard to project, but, you know, even with the changes we're making, we're only going to 0.65% of the cap. So there's definitely room to expand.
Well, and I can tell you, if you look at the numbers from last year to this year, several people sold their homes. And so the cost of the program actually went down from last year to this year, so.
I think that the freeze is the one that's hard because their benefit grows over time, right? So that's the one thing, I remember they did all this modeling.
Right.
And we'll probably have to look at that a little bit, but at least we're not making big changes right now in terms of the overall spending.
Any other questions, comments? John, do you want to appoint?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for the presentation, Gene. I have two volunteers I'd like to step forward, and Jude and John, if you guys can help us out on this and step in, I think you'd be great at this. So
How did I know that you were going to select those two people? I just,
just know you both
Great
of you want
minds
to just
thinking
dive right
alike.
in and help this forward.
I have limits on
Yes.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm not sure when they're.
We don't
Right.
have.
I'll put together a doodle poll and send it
We'll be
out
flexible.
with a variety of versions.
Welcome to the Board of Finance.
This is what we call voluntold.
Pay your dues, is that what it's?
They're going to do a great job. They're going to really
Do your
inform the
job.
board and do a great job. Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Discuss and take action to accept $5,000 monetary donation from Neighbor Neighbor for the camp scholarships approved by the Board of Selectmen on 9/12/2023. Moved.
so move.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mhm. Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstention, motion carries. Discuss and take action to accept $7,882.64 from monetary donation from Madison Chamber of Commerce for the Phase 3 of Madison Center project in memorial of Robert E. McDonald, approved by the Board of Selectmen on 9/12/2023.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Second.
Good. All discussion?
Thank you to the chamber and thank you to Robert McDonald.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Discuss and take action to accept the pending FEMA grant to be awarded through the State of Connecticut Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security in the amount of, was it $2,471,500? Hate these numbers. For the Emergency Operations Center project approved by the Board of Selection on 9/12/2023. You guys are busy that night. I need it moved.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Discuss and take action to accept, this is good when we accept money. Discuss and take action to accept the pending Department of Energy awarded for $1 million for the emergency shelter generator project approved by the Board of Selectmen, again, 9/12/2023. Moved,
So moved.
second,
I'll second.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Opposed, abstentions. I didn't discuss it. Did someone want to discuss it? No.
Thank
That's
you.
all right, Gene. It's all right.
Discuss and take action to approve the application for the Urban Act funding grant in the amount of $4 million for the Academy Community Center project approved by the Board of Selectmen on 6/20/2022.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion.
Real quick comment, if I may. There's a lot of work that goes into these grants, and Peggy and the team and all the employees, workers, and Stacy and Eric, just thank you, because it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. So great job. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstention, motion carries. Report of the tax collector for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. We're gonna skip that one.
Yeah, it was included as part of the financials.
It's part of the
It's an annual
financials,
tax
people.
collector's report.
Mhm.
Thank
I
you.
don't know.
Review, financials, what do we got?
You have the financials. I don't know if anybody has any questions. It's so early in the
Fillmore's not here
fiscal
anymore,
year.
so there's somebody's gonna review.
Yes, so you have the financials that you got as part of the packet. I also sent out late this afternoon the fund balance as of
Yeah, I saw
last fiscal year that is still
Mhm.
projected. We're still doing entries and accruals to last year, but
Okay.
this is where we are as of now.
Good.
Stacy, you have to mention the fund balance for Fillmore. So you have to. That's all.
Oh, no.
I'm fine. You should find me. You-
Take course.
I was gonna say,
Money is signed.
What was that? I have to let Phil
Go ahead,
know.
John, what? You may speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing. We have to mention the fund.
Oh, we lost him.
oh, no.
He didn't like your comment.
Dean, did you do that? Is that a virtual gavel?
There he is. He's back.
You can just cut me off there.
It was the
I don't blame her.
ghost of Fillmore.
He said that's a gavel him. He's done.
What were you saying, John?
Just for Fillmore, we had to mention. That's all. It's not important now. Thank you.
All right. Good. Citizens' comments? Jacqueline, anybody on there?
No hands are raised.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
So moved.
all in favor?
Second. Aye.
Everyone.
Everybody, goodbye.